Hi everyone, I'm making this presentation to show you how to make a good final product for your observation project presentations. Let me move this over a little bit. Bloop. And how to record it so that we can share our presentations online this semester. So I am first going to teach you how to, there we go. First, I'm going to teach you how to what needs to go in your presentation, and then I'll show you how you can record it for your groups. So since we're not having face-to-face lectures anymore, we're going to have to do these final presentations for observation projects as a video recording online. So just a few things to remember about your observation project. There's no final product that is a paper. There's just this presentation, and I'm going to take it just as seriously in the online format as I would face-to-face. It's worth as much as a test grade, which is good news for a lot of you because most people tend to do pretty well on these presentations. And like I said, for this semester, what we're going to do is take your PowerPoint slides and record one person in your group giving a presentation of them. So the way that you're going to be graded is that you're pretty much going to get a single group grade for the whole design of the study and how well you discuss the findings. However, a portion of each person's individual grade is going to be based on their contribution to the project and their participation. The way that I'm going to do that with the online version of this presentation is I want you to make sure that you know how to use these speaker notes. So I'm using Google Slides right now. It works the same if you're using regular PowerPoint. There's this blank spot underneath each slide where you can add in speaker notes. So what I want you to do is write down under each slide what the person who was going to be presenting would have said. So like, Amy, on this slide, I will explain the design of our study. Here's what we did. Yada, yada, yada. Explain it. Like write out word for word what you would have wanted to say if you were doing the presentation out loud. To make sure that everybody is contributing, I want you to make sure that everybody takes a section of the PowerPoint slides that they're going to present on, and then make sure that you put your name at the bottom of the slide. So like if this is Benji's slide, he would put Benji. If Benji does 3 slides in a row, just put Benji at the bottom of each one of them. So that's how I'm going to know who gets credit for which section of the presentation. So let's talk about what needs to go in your presentation. And these slides are going to be posted in this module for you as well. The first slide of your group's presentation needs to have your title of your project. Make it descriptive. It shouldn't just say title. So something that explains what your observation study was about. I want you to put your names and then your affiliation on that slide as well. I do want you to have one brief introduction slide. I know this is sort of working backwards since we already came up with your idea and we ran the study and we've collected the data already. But I want you to find a couple of different sources that you can cite about the things that you're measuring. So if you're doing a study about people's coffee consumption in different types of weather or gender differences in driving different kinds of vehicles, see if you can find a couple of articles, and I will be very generous in what I count as sources for this. So they don't have to be empirical formal sources. If you find a blog post about women really hate trucks and you want to cite that here, as long as you correctly APA cite whatever type of source that is, that's fine with me. So a couple of different background sources. And then I want you to tell me what you expected. We expected people and other people to differ in their level of thing. Well, just explain to me what you predicted. We thought that more men would drive trucks than women. We thought that people would be more likely to order hot coffee on colder days. This slide is going to be really important. I want you to give me a lot of detail here about how you defined your variables. So remember those days we were working on it in class where you were coming up with very specific definitions of your constructs. I want you to give me all those specific details here. This doesn't have to just be on one slide. I put it on one slide as an example, but if you have a lot of stuff to explain for your operational definitions, you should spread it out. So if one of my groups was doing a study where they were looking at people who are dressed formally or informally, you might have an operational definition of formal dress and give me bullet point details. and then another slide where you go through informal dress and bullet point details. Lots of details and explanations here. And then also don't forget to write down the notes about what the presenter would say on that slide. On your method slide next, I want you to give me a lot of details about how you collected your data, sort of that who, what, when, where information. Where did you do it? What time of day, what days of the week, what kind of materials you brought with you. And if you look on our Canvas page and scroll down to the bottom of the modules, there's a module about observation research project. There are some example student slides that I've posted there. Some people have taken pictures of the areas of campus where they collected data, or they included a picture of their data collection sheet so that we could see what they were looking at when they were recording behaviors. Now, when you get into the results, this is where you can just copy and paste the things that we were working on previously with your chi-square results. So I need one slide where you tell me the actual statistical results, and then I need one slide with a graph. Make sure that even on these two slides, I still want to see explanation notes down in the speaker notes of how the person would have explained this graph. So your notes should not just say, Amy, this is a graph. That's not enough of an explanation. I want you to type out and explain to me how you would have explained these trends if you were presenting out loud to the class. So as you can see, men and women were very similar in their preferences for chips, but there was a very big gender difference in the cookies and brownies selection. Women were way more likely to choose brownies than men, and men were way more likely to choose cookies than women. So don't just say, here's a graph. Explain to me what I'm supposed to see on the graph. And if the graph is just telling us, hey, there were no differences, then say that and explain that. As you can see, men and women looked very similar in their numbers of who was and wasn't driving a truck. There should be explanation notes on every single slide, because if you're giving a presentation in person, you're never just going to put a slide up and not say something. So I want a couple of slides about discussion. So overall, we found that men and women were different or weren't different. If you didn't find what you thought you were going to find, so that's for all my groups who found non-significant results, which is probably going to be most of you. I want you to think about why you didn't find what you thought you found. So was there something about your methods? And then you can also get into some limitations. Do you think there were some things that you could have changed to make the study better? And here's how you dealt with it at the time. So what I want you to make sure that you don't do is just list a bunch of things you did wrong and then not address it. If there are things that you think were limitations of the study, explain why you had to do it that way. Sometimes there are just practical reasons why things have to happen. And then your last slide should be references. Now, this is the only slide that you don't need to put notes on, like you don't have to explain what the references are. But I do want these to be in correct APA format. So make sure that you're doing that correctly when you're formatting the slide. Now, I just have a couple of more slides for you to show some things that I don't like in PowerPoints. Make sure that if you can see, it says, I can't read this in really tiny yellow font. Make sure you have really good contrast between background color of your slide and your font. I use just black and white in this presentation because it's really high contrast. You don't have to use just plain black and white, but make sure whatever colors or designs you choose, it's really easy to read. You also want to make sure if you're going to use pictures, it really makes your slide difficult to read if there's a picture as the background with words on top of it, especially if there's a lot of words that are low contrast over a picture background. This one would be very distracting for me if I was watching a presentation. It's really difficult to read text that's very small. In general, I would say you don't want to have any font on your PowerPoint slide that's smaller than about 24, and headings should be even bigger than that, 30, 40 point font. Fancy fonts are hard to read. Very, very bright backgrounds kind of hurt your eyes. And then you don't want to just overuse clip art and Google Images just to put stuff on your slides. You want to only use graphics that really pertain and illustrate the point that you're trying to put on the slide. You don't just have to find a random Google image to put on every single slide. That is kind of tacky and distracting. You do not want your slide to be your notes. That's what the notes section is for at the bottom of your slide. That's the stuff in your notes section is what you would be saying out loud. You want to just put some really brief bullet points on the slide. And what that does is that if you put everything that you're saying on the slide, I know you've had professors who do that before and you hate it, your brain just turns off. I'm not going to sit here and read 100 words, and please don't read it out loud to me. You should have main point bullet points on your slides, and then you can type your notes or say out loud your explanations of it. Just make sure you're really careful with color. A lot of the PowerPoint templates that are already in PowerPoint or in Google Slides are pretty good about that. So all of those I would say are pretty safe. I would just make sure that you check that all the font sizes are big enough. Even those labels and things on your graphs, make sure you're pumping up the font size on your labels. And those are really my only main points about how to make your PowerPoint good. Now, last section of this video, I want to show you how you can record your PowerPoint slides if you want to. Now, I'm going to make this a little different than we would do it in class. I have not figured out a very good way to have all like 4 group members zoomed in and recording a presentation all at the same time. So while I do want you to all come up with your own notes and be in charge of your own slides when you're designing it, I want you to pick just one person who's going to do the voiceover recording of your presentation. So make sure there's somebody in your group who's very comfortable speaking and who's pretty good with technology and wants to do this. The way we're going to do it is through the Canvas Studio that you may or may not have ever used before. So when you're in your Canvas dashboard, on this left-hand side, there's a button that says Studio. That is where you can make recordings of your screen or you doing a video presentation like this. Now, I already have some videos in my studio because that's what I've been using to make videos for our class. If you've never used a studio before, yours is probably going to be blank. Now, I'm going to be careful really quick because I'm already recording my screen using a different software, so I don't think I'm going to be able to like record within my recording. But here's how you do it. You see this button up here that says record? When you click on it, one of your options is a screen capture. Now it will ask you, if you've never used this before, it will ask you to download the screen capture software. And you don't even have to have a webcam on your computer because it will just record what's happening on your screen. So you're going to click on that, and then there will be a little box that pops up around your screen that you can drag, and it'll show you, hey, I'm going to record this whole section of your screen. And then you will click the red record button, and then you'll just pull up your slides and record yourself voiceover. So it'll be recording with your computer microphone and recording your screen. Somebody giving your presentation for your group. Now, when you're done, it'll say upload it to the Canvas Studio, and then you'll see the video that you made pop up here in your Canvas Studio. When you're ready to share it with me, you can click on these little dots and say share media, and you can share it with people. So you can share it with Amy Hayes. No results found because that's me. But let's say I wanted to share it with Candace, our TA. See, I could click there, and I just want you to share that video with me. I will give you a lot of grace in technology errors, or if there's sort of bloopers in your presentation, I'm not going to count off for that because I know this is weird and we're all doing the best we can. So I'll have a chat about this next week while we're working on it, and we will all kind of get to practice and troubleshoot and answer questions about our recording of our presentations.